So, Chris, I hear you're getting married.
I
How much
am.
of your how much of your current success in in the romantic part of your life would you directly attribute to having just played Kaichu, the Kaiju dating sim?
Ooh, well, directly like that
Like
that
one to
there
one, this game has led to your love.
I would say there's zero correlation then. I'm sorry, Kaichu, don't, breathe fire on me,
Okay,
but
okay, okay. That's fine.
but
That's
but I'd
fine.
say there were some similarities.
Okay. How about
Mostly
tell me
the
about those?
destructions of buildings. We grew like several stories tall and then destroyed the Eiffel Tower.
Okay,
So,
so you
you're
you
welcome.
personally, for
Hello.
love, have destroyed the Eiffel Tower, and people should be aware that that has happened.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. Wait. Was this like a souvenir Eiffel Tower or a real Eiffel Tower? Like in
Um,
Paris?
I it was also very dark out, and then I somehow just ended up in my bed right after.
Okay.
So I don't
That's a
really know
strange
what happened.
coincidence.
Uh
Huh.
huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
H
Go
have
figure.
there been any lessons from Kaichu, the Kaiju dating sim, that you have taken and applied to your own relationship?
No. Can't. Don't be on the news. Maybe that. I don't.
What's that actually is if your relationship is making the news, that is probably more than likely to be a bad sign. I
Uh
guess it
huh. Uh huh.
might be a very good sign, but
It depends on your celebrity status, I guess, which I don't have much of. So yeah, that is
sure.
probably not a good thing. Yeah, yeah.
Well, listeners, let us know if you have personally actually established that the Eiffel Tower is still standing, and just because we're still a little fuzzy on those details.
Yeah, and I don't look outside my window very much, so I don't even know what's going on. 5 feet from my place, I guess. But
Chris, you don't live in Paris.
I don't. Why do I have so many baguettes then?
Two brothers play a game. Two brothers play a game. Two brothers play a game. Then they will rate that game.
Welcome to Two Brothers Play a Game. I'm Josh.
I'm Chris.
And this is a podcast where we, two brothers, play a game we found on sale for the Nintendo Switch. We
I feel
do
like I have to do real quick because we jest and everything, but I truly am. We're like partly why we're doing. Actually, this is not the reason we're covering a dating game, but I am getting married sometime soon. I really
this
am.
is true.
Tis true.
Oh, I see. So you're trying to clarify
That
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 there were some jokes in the first
that there's
part,
at
but
least
that is
that.
true.
I'm not going to say
That
what the
is not one of
jokes
the
were.
jokes.
You all have to figure that out, listeners. There are some things that are true and some things that are not, but at least I gave you that I am getting married soon is a true thing. The rest of it, maybe even including did we play the game or not, you will decide.
Well, we know you did not finish the game. I think we have yet to encounter one that you
It
have
is
finished.
yes. Yeah.
Um, so we do a fun segment in the front half of the podcast. We think they're fun. We hope you think they're fun. I
Mhm.
suppose you wouldn't be here if you didn't. And then we will discuss and review the game of the month in the back half of the show. This month we played Kaichu, the Kaiju dating sim.
Mhm.
Now this is going to be coming out around Valentine's Day. We're playing another
It is.
dating sim
Yeah.
about trying to find a love at all sizes, including city-destroying sizes.
Mhm.
Uh, what have you? Do you have any notable video games that have stories of love, romance, companionship? Any stories from your video game playing history that you want to highlight before we get into the game?
I yes, in honor of Valentine's Day and video games together, there's always that like relationship that can happen in a lot of games, I feel like. So I will bring up and one I will say I have looked into getting a a wedding band for myself. I have semi permission for something like this, but I haven't decided if I want to get this. But it does have the symbol from the game that I'm going to bring up, which is Kingdom Hearts.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm sure everybody thinks that it's Goofy and Donald. That's not who I'm referring to. I'm going to bring up Sora and Kairi, and
Okay.
they have a relationship of some sort. I feel like a lot of games will not outright say there is something, but it's like, okay, yeah, no, by all means they're together. Why are you like, skirting around the issue kind of thing? I don't know.
I mean,
But
I think it makes sense in this sense because Sora and Kairi are younger folk growing up through
at
the
the beginning,
games. Yes, I think
yeah.
they're still on the young side by Kingdom Hearts 3. And
Okay, Sora's
uh,
voice is considerably deeper in the newer ones. We all
oh
know
yes,
this. It's
that's because a number of years have passed and actors age a little
let's
faster.
face
That's
it,
the voice actor for Sora has aged
is
quite a
now
bit
like
faster
40
than
years
Sora
old. So,
himself.
like, yeah,
How old is he now?
I don't know. I'm guessing like he's like 40. I think no, probably
Gosh,
he's probably a little
this
younger.
is Haley
I'm
Joel
sorry.
Osment, right?
Yeah, I don't know. He
Haley
he
Joel
he aged a lot.
Osment.
That's all I know. Maybe 30.
Let's
Maybe he's like
see.
30 something.
Let's see. He is 34, just
Okay.
a hair
Sorry, I
younger
was
than
6 years
me.
off. Yeah.
But yes, Sora is probably somewhere in the teen years, and it is
Yeah.
not immediately on
Uh,
Google, so
yeah.
I cannot share that. But somewhere around there, and that is quickly getting out of pace. But that is a very memorable relationship. I'd say in the first
Yeah.
game, it was much more clear. You know, Sora and Kairi had the fruit that they shared. You know,
Yeah.
destinies linked together. And then Sora goes out searching for his friends, really caring about Kairi especially. But I feel like in the latter games, they really haven't taken their relationship anywhere. It's just kind of been that
No,
like, oh, our destinies are linked.
I mean he does search after her a lot more than Riku now, I feel like.
This is fair,
That's
but also in the later games, he's with Riku a lot more often.
Yeah, I guess Riku isn't as lost as much. So, but there's a lot more. This is really funny to say. I've, I've noticed there's like a lot more like hugging between them, like more
Fair.
than there are between other characters. So I feel like that's implying some things. I don't know what to say. Again, like there's something
Sora and
going on,
Kairi,
but not going on. You know,
Sora and Kairi perhaps the will they won't they that we
a
will
little bit.
be continuing to be
Well,
uncertain
she
about for decades and decades to come into Haley Joel Osment's 40s and 50s and 60s.
she keeps like falling into other dimensions or something. I don't know what happens, but like she just like goes somewhere, you
I mean,
know.
she's like a Keyblade master now. She's got her own missions and worlds to save and things like that. They're getting
Yeah,
busy.
she still gets lost. I mean, I'm with you. Like it'd be awesome just to play like a whole game with her, but
I
I
think
don't know. She like gets into comas or something. I don't know what happens. Like
I
it's
mean,
like
Sora got into a coma.
I know, which didn't help
Uh,
much. So
did
he's at
not
least
help
a year
much.
older from Kingdom Hearts.
And
I
I
think
think
something. I thought he
Sora
was
is
like
the
in
one
a
that's. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I thought yeah, Sora was like in a coma for a long time, wasn't he? Between like
Um,
Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
yes, that is true between one and two. And then also he is the one that is lost right now at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. I think he's the one separated from the group.
Is it him?
And they're trying to find Sora. Gosh, it is
I
really
was
hard to
thinking it
keep that game
was
straight.
well, yeah, and we had a whole message thread with a friend of ours that was pointing out if I do get the wedding band that has a symbol, my marriage will make absolutely no sense at all. Um, right after the wedding. So that might
It'll,
be where I'm debating on getting that wedding band is
it'll still sell lots of copies, though. You can have a very
it will, that's
profitable
true.
wedding.
And I can summon Disneyland rides that are made out of light.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Never
I
get
won't
bored.
know what's going on with them, but I can do it.
All
So
right, let's move on from Sora and
okay,
Kairi. We're going to be
do you
debating
have
that one
one?
for many years
Let's-
to come. To a much more established relationship. Let's talk about Mario and Peach. Classic Mario is trying to save Peach. Peach is in another castle, and that continues for a long time. But
yeah,
nowadays, Peach has her own game. She's hanging out with Mario. They're doing the parties. They're going on go-karts. They're having a great time together. My real concern about Mario and Peach is we never actually. Obviously, they care deeply for each other to go on these grand adventures. However, we never actually see them be any sort of caring or romantic or talk about the future. I am concerned that they're having a great time maybe, but also I don't know if there's a big future for them. They still haven't tied the knot all these decades later.
yeah. It's a it's a will they won't they, but it's like there's not a lot sometimes in the games to go on with that. I think you're right. I mean, there's some games that don't even have that whole Mario looking for Peach. Like Mario Sunshine was not that um, that I recall. I'm trying to remember now. No, it was yeah. Mario had to clean stuff up. I think.
I
Didn't he?
cannot recall. I remember the little water jet
Yeah,
backpack. I remember having a reasonably good time. I do not remember
yeah. I
Peach
think
or
Mario
any of the
Galaxy
other
was. Yeah, I don't think Mario
characters.
Galaxy did either. Had Peach in it. It was Luma, I think,
Ah,
was the female protagonist for that. So there's some games that don't even have Peach. So that's you know.
another famous Nintendo couple that you were going to highlight was Link and Zelda. Do you think they have
Hmm.
more of a future than Mario and Peach?
I think so. It's that one also feels hard to tell that they try to make it platonic at times. Like I feel like Breath of the Wild, they're trying to make it more platonic than an actual relationship. But yeah, I think there's something there. You know, that they hang out a
Def
lot. Yeah,
Definitely, they hang out a lot. They definitely seem to care about each other. They just can't seem to catch a break, though. I mean, the world is
yeah,
constantly ending around them, and they are
yeah.
just busy keeping it all together and stopping the baddies from getting the Triforce. Uh,
But here,
Maybe if they had some time just to quiet down and have a conversation, they could actually move their relationship forward.
but here's always the weird thing about the Zelda games is it's not always the same Link and Zelda, right? Like it's supposed to be like cycles of them. Like it's that like kind of regeneration sort of thing. I might be
hmm
wrong in this, but
I truly have no idea, but that's kind of how I understand it too. That these are different ages, and Link and Zelda come back around and reunite to save the world yet again.
yeah. So maybe just maybe each regeneration of them they save the world, and then there is some time that they have together, and then they
Off screen,
either get
they
destroyed or
they
something
finally
else.
get
Yeah.
to
Uh huh.
they finally
They
get
get
to
a
have
break.
that conversation and relax for a little while.
Yeah. Until gosh, what was the annoying one in was it Twilight Princess? That was um wait, listen. The
That's Navi from Ocarina of Time.
was it Ocarina? It was Ocarina. I guess it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, you had to
Yeah.
press like
I was thinking it was
right on the
Ocarina,
C
but
pad.
yeah. Oh man, that was one of the more annoying things. So, uh,
Um,
yeah,
wh- One game that I feel like some modern games are actually really diving into relationships in interesting ways. And what I wanted to talk about briefly is It Takes Two. This is a game that I have looked at and heard tons about, had spoiled for me, even though I have never played it, because I passionately object to content within the game. There is apparently a scene in this game. Okay, I'm going to need to rewind a
Hmm.
second. It Takes
Okay.
Two is a
Uh-huh.
game. It's a co-op game,
Okay.
and you play as a husband and wife who
Okay.
have, through some magical circumstance, I think their child wishes and a tear falls on a shooting star or something like that, and the child wishes that his fighting parents would find a way to make it work or something like that. And they wouldn't be fighting so much. And so you take on the role of this husband and
Okay.
wife that are not in a very happy marriage, and
Ooh.
they get almost Honey I Shrunk the Kids style turned into small toys like the kids' toys that made this wish. Again,
Okay.
I've not actually played this game. I'm doing my best, but I think it's an interesting game, even though I
Huh.
won't play it. So they are now toy sized, and they are made out of toys. Kind of have a knit looking construction, and they go about trying to find a way to undo this little magical curse that has been placed upon them, and fighting along the way. Um, they apparently have a very bad time, and there's one scene in the game where they're trying to effectively make the child cry again, because I believe it's something about the child's tears is where the magic is. And so they take the child's favorite stuffed animal and torture the poor creature to try
What?
to make the child cry. And apparently, the game is fantastic, and there's interesting puzzles and beautiful graphics and blah blah blah. But that is a bridge too far. I have
Yeah.
played the Call of Duties. I have shot people. I have fired nukes, and that was too far for me. You cannot
Well, that
harm
is.
children's toys, and
Yeah.
also harm your
Well, harm the
child.
child?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on top of that.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought that was interesting. You have to work together, a game where you're in a effectively dysfunctional relationship, and you have to work together in this co-op style game, probably bickering all the way.
Huh.
That was a fun one. Do you
Yeah.
have a last game with a romantic element or relationship element that you wanted to highlight?
I will bring up in Portal, and it is the companion cube, and the player. I mean, there's an
Yes.
actual character, but I feel like in the Portal games, it's always there's an attachment grown to the companion cube that that comes about. I remember in the first one, and I'm sorry for those of you if you have not played Portal and then go through it. There was a one level where you had to give up the companion cube, and
Oh,
I
that was
and I
heartbreaking.
yeah, and I reached that point. I had to pause it and walk away for like some time. I had to like
It's just like
I
the
had to
death of
like
Eris all over again.
yeah, I had to like think through the memories that I had with the companion cube. This sounds really sarcastic. I really did. Like I had to pause it and walk away and go like, "No. What? I'm giving up the companion cube? That what?" Like it shocked me. So well done. I forgot the company that made that, but
Valve makes the Portal
Valve.
games,
Yeah, I was gonna say the same
same
as
same
Half
people
Life.
as Half-Life,
Yeah.
and for anyone that hasn't played Portal, you play as, I believe it's pronounced Chell. It's kind of a silent protagonist of the Portal games,
Mm-hmm.
and you are being kind of tortured, tested by a maniacal AI who wants to effectively
Yeah.
make your life miserable, and
Mm-hmm.
the AI gives you a companion cube to carry through all these trials and tribulations, and the AI definitely creates a bonding between you and this cube. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
white cube with a heart drawn on it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And
You do
you
use it a
lift it
lot for
around
different
and you
things. Yeah. Yeah.
use it for puzzles, and
Yeah.
the AI will say things like, "Oh, it looks like the companion crew is growing to like you. I'm so glad you two have become friends. I wonder if anything else will bloom between you and the companion cube." And then eventually, well, this story does not have a happy ending, and
No.
Chell and the companion cube do not live happily ever after. So be
And there's still
prepared
no
for
cake.
that.
Yeah.
And it turns out the cake is also a lie, which is just
Yeah.
icing on the torturous, non-existent
Cake.
cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
The final game that I was going to highlight for me is actually Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or excuse me, Origins. Assassin's Creed Origins, the one set in
Okay.
Egypt. This is not my favorite Assassin's Creed game from a gameplay perspective, but from the story perspective, it was truly amazing. There's this small family, two parents and a child, and unfortunately, the child passes early in the game, and that puts the whole family in a bit of a spiral. You play as Bayek, I believe his name is. I'll try to look that up real quick. Assassin's Creed. All right. Okay, let me
Uh
try
huh.
this again. So, in Assassin's Creed Origin, you are playing as Bayek. His son has unfortunately passed on, and his wife, Aya, leaves to try to. They both are processing their grief in unique ways that pulls them
Mm-hmm.
apart.
Mm-hmm.
However, they are bonded in this mission of revenge. This is like, I think, the first assassin that formed the Assassin's Creed organization. I don't know exact. It's another game that's sometimes hard to follow,
Yeah.
um, but the two of them work together to get revenge for the sake of their lost son. And you could tell again that these are two people that deeply care about each other, even though they've had to pull apart due to the powerful emotions of a loss of a child. And the two don't fully separate, but they also don't fully reconcile. And I think that was just a very interesting relationship
Hmm.
to watch. You are playing as Biok, so you don't often run into Aya, your wife, but your paths do cross a number of times, and you work together. Well, in this shared mission, and then
Hmm.
eventually, I think it is actually Aya who forms the Assassin's Creed group that goes on to last for millennia. But that is one of the better stories, and probably one of the Assassin's Creed games that I would recommend if you have not jumped into that series and are interested.
And you're
So
basically saying the Assassin's Creed got started because of a tragedy in a family.
yeah,
Um.
I think
Okay.
so. Again,
Sure.
there's like
Yeah.
aliens and things like that, and ancient
Oh
artifacts from
yeah. Yeah.
other worlds, and that it's a complicated and convoluted story. But that was definitely one of the triggering incidents. Was revenge
Yeah.
against these murderers who were
It's
seeking
something about
power and now need to be
nobodies
stopped.
and the heartless and oh wait.
Nope, nope, that's the other one. That's the other one. You're
Okay.
you're wandering into Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
Kingdom's Creed, the Breath
Oh
of the
gosh, no,
Wild.
please, no, no,
I
don't
can't wait
have,
for that sequel.
no, no. There, like, there's no following that. That's, oh no,
So
no.
so let us continue in our exploration of love. Now increasing the scale to hundreds and hundreds of feet into the air with Kaichu, the Kaiju dating sim. How would you elevator pitch this game?
Well, it is, it is a dating sim where you are trying to match yourself with another monster, another Kaichu, giant monster, through a series of dates which consist of destroying landmarks throughout the world, and you progress that way by conversation, like sort of yes or no questions of conversation at each landmark.
Mhm.
And if you are not compatible, then you failed the relationship. I don't know how to describe
I
that part.
mean,
Like bringing
basically,
the
you
failure of a
fail to
game,
make a
but
connection.
yeah, it's a game. That's
Uh,
I always think of giant where like Smash Brothers like failure. Um, but yeah.
yeah, basically that's what's going on. You have six eligible kaiju and 24 different famous landmarks, and you maybe go on about 10 dates over the course of
Mm-hmm.
one game with one kaiju partner, prospective partner, and you answer questions, and sometimes the your prospective partner will be have a negative reaction or a positive reaction or kind of a neutral semi-positive reaction, and you have to do your best to figure out how to make a relationship work. Um, and in between, one thing that I found very fun, in between each date is an update from the World Breaking News Network, which is kind of funny. Kaiju
Yeah.
destroying the world, World Breaking News Network. That's funny. Um, and that there's these kind of news reporters slash gossip reporters discussing the love lives of kaiju around the world, and not seeming too concerned about the destruction that they are leaving in their wake. They just kind of want everyone to be happy, and I think that sort of sentiment is what this game really is all about. Is who cares the cost and the destruction of the great wonders of the world? Truly, everyone's just trying to find somebody to be happy with.
Well,
Uh,
and then there's also the general guy that keeps interrupting the
yes.
basically
Uh,
gossip columnists. Yeah.
Eventually, the military gets involved, trying to break up this romance for the sake of the world. To some success, potentially not. It depends. Sometimes they are successful, sometimes they are not successful.
Yeah.
But the game's very quick. Entire playthrough, probably only about 30 minutes. But you do
Yeah.
have six different romantic partners, so you could play each of them, and get a few hours of gameplay out of it if you want. I kind of suspect there is a seventh romantic partner
Oh.
after you complete
Hmm.
the main six, but I was not able to verify that or finish all six myself. So I'm not sure. There might be a little bit more, but I did not confirm that. I just kind of have an inkling suspicion that there might be just a little bit more at the end. It's kind of fun. What did you think of the presentation of the game?
I thought the presentation was kind of fun. It was rather cartoony, which was nice. Actually, some pretty decent animation, which I was kind of surprised of. And I think just because of the speed dating for ghosts was a lot more graphics driven, like almost
Limited?
drawing, like limited graphics. Yeah. I thought this might do it too because I figured it'd be a lot more just kind of text heavy,
Hmm.
but this actually had quite a bit of animation to it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the art of the game was really nice. Got colorful, lots of purple and pastel tones, and just bright
Mm-hmm.
colors that kind of suit the very playful nature of this game quite nicely. I wasn't particularly wowed by the audio or sound effects or music. It was fine. It was
Yep.
good. And no voice acting, just a handful of sound bites that are used by the handful of characters that are in the game, the news reporters, the general, and of course the kaiju. Um, they, it was all acceptable and fine, but I think the real star of
Yeah.
the presentation was the fun and colorful artwork. Bright, lots of round, heart shape, cute looks, and that was nice. Any other
I
thoughts on
agree.
presentation, or shall we talk about gameplay?
Let's go on to gameplay because I think you covered some of my thoughts too. Yeah.
Um, I I started the game. I think this is the quote unquote correct way to play it. You are presented with these multiple choice compatibility questions between you and your chosen kaiju partner, and you're trying to guess quote unquote right answer that the other kaiju would respond best to. And so you're almost trying to get a handle on their personality, and you eventually get these little clues peppered in through their profile that slowly gets filled out, and the dialogue in the game. And it was fun. It was kind of fun to try to guess what their feelings on mountains were, or did they like literature? Kind of common relationship questions being applied here to large Eiffel Tower destroying monsters. Uh, is that how you played it as well, trying to guess the quote unquote right answer?
Yeah, and it was interesting. Like I don't know why I didn't think at first that it was dependent on the monster itself, but there was guessing, but I feel like the answers were, if you really thought about what that monster was, then so like I one of the ones that I guess I pursued or whatever was like a living volcano. And so like answers would have to do, if you think about what a volcano might like or not like, then like if there's a
Romantically
question about
speaking.
romantically speaking, like if like heat, like there were some questions I think, like thinking about like hot temperatures and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, volcano's gonna like hot temperatures, it's a volcano.
Right. Like, where would you
So
want to live? And you might pick someplace warm. And
mhm.
the volcano would prefer that over someplace rainy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like there was some guessing, like some of them you didn't know, but yeah, although I don't know if you were finding this. I didn't notice it until towards the end of one of them. There were a little bit of hints that the news reporters would give to
Hmm.
some of the
Hmm.
questions, but I didn't pick up on that until. And honestly, it was because I just like kept like trying to get through that as fast as I could. The news reporters' conversations to get to the main game part. And then I slowly realized, like, oh, they're actually giving a little bit of information to use in this next scenario. So,
Hmm.
um,
There are definitely some
yeah.
hints in there in between each
Hmm.
date. There's those little news bulletins, and sometimes there would be a specific conversation that tells you a little bit about the kaiju you're dating and can be used to try to suss out the right answer.
Hmm.
I actually tried on my final playthrough to just kind of be myself. Not if I were a kaiju and try to create this character that I could roleplay, but just me being me, and I got rejected. It was awful. I tried to date the large bird man, and uh, he just wasn't that compatible with me as a person, and that was sad. So I feel like that's probably not the intended way to play the game, is try to find the right person for you, the player. I feel like the game is really about trying to guess the right answer, which doesn't speak too highly on like how relationships should work, but it's still a fun
Yeah.
game.
Well, and I'll say that's how the first one that I went through. That's what I did at first, because again, some of them like you can't tell, like according to what that other monster is, like what the correct answer is, and so I was just like, I don't know, I like this personally, so this is what I'm going to put down and guess. And then yeah, same thing. I did, the volcano was a bust, but I actually did match with the next monster that I pursued. So and that's where I figured out, like, oh, I have to know what they like. But yeah, it's really weird in that way, like what you're saying. That's not a true relationship, because you're answering according to only the other character in the relationship, not according to what would um the monster that you play as. Was it just called Kai? No, no,
The
Gigachu.
monster is called
Gigachu?
Gigachu. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gigachu is
Gigachu.
the character you're playing. This pink Godzilla looking
Yeah.
um, uh, kaiju.
Yeah, so the answers aren't really according to who Gigachu might be. It's according to who the other character would be. Yeah, again, that's we both
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
We're
Gigachu, you just
in
got to be yourself
yeah,
and wait for the
yeah.
right person to come along. I mean, this is not going to be a long-term thing with Mosra, the moss butterfly. If you have to force yourself into being who Mosra wants,
Yeah.
it's just it's not a happy ending for you, Gigachu.
Actually, that is the monster that I ended up with, though. But it was according to like just answering according to Masra, not according to
Right.
Gigachu. So yeah, poor
The
Gigachu.
one thing that poor Gigachu. Gigachu just wants company, somebody to destroy landmarks with.
Yeah,
The landmark destruction is fun because that is kind of the barometer that tells you if your relationship is going well. If you
hmm
if you're incompatible, you won't destroy the landmark as quickly, and if you don't fully destroy it, then it will be a less successful date. So that's kind of fun. It didn't
yeah,
seem to me that it mattered at all which landmark you actually picked, though, which I thought was a
no,
little unusual. You have 24 different landmarks you can destroy on your dates, but all it really was a backdrop to the date. It didn't seem to have any impact or your conversations around that part of the world, or these are real world landmarks. The Great
yeah.
Pyramids, the Eiffel Tower,
The
Big
Eiffel Tower,
Ben.
yeah, Taj
Um,
Mahal, what have you. Yeah,
so that I thought was a slight missed opportunity in the gameplay, having these landmarks be basically interchangeable.
hmm
How'd you like the story of the game? You mentioned that you were skipping past the news bulletins, which is easily half of the game. Did you find it kind of dull playing the game, or reading the story?
I reading the story got dull after a certain amount of time, especially if you play through it multiple times. A lot of their dialogue is the same, but again, like there's a little bit of hints in there
Hmm.
pertaining to those characters, but a lot of the other stuff is the same. Like at some point the general comes in, he starts spouting off, he wants to end the relationship, and et cetera, et cetera. So that part doesn't ever change. So like if you keep going through the different monsters, yeah, it gets pretty dry in that regard. So that part I would skip over. I I did appreciate the variety of the questions, in that even though like the questions would be repeated for each monster relationship, there was different answers, so it was still trying to figure out, okay, like what answers are going to apply to this monster. That
Hmm.
at least was an interesting dynamic to it, and actually kind of fun to guess through and all. Yeah. So.
Yeah, each of the characters is fairly unique. You have the fiery volcano who's got more of a passionate side, and you have the family-oriented Mosra, the moth, who is also Moss.
hmm
And then you also had the Queen of the Ocean, the three-headed Hydra, Queen of the Ocean, and the alien fungus who is permanently surrounded in some sort of energy field, so she can't get close to anyone and things like that. Like it does feel like each of these characters was unique. So trying to suss out their favorite answer was a fun small challenge. And
Yeah.
it's not a particularly hard game. It's meant to be a fun, cozy game. Uh, Going back to our old episode and discussion on cozy games, definitely this is of the cozy variety. Uh, you will probably succeed if you try at this without too many obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of agree. My first playthrough, I enjoyed the game much more. Got a handful of chuckles. I didn't skip any of the text or hurry through in any particular um, rapidity. Um, and that playthrough took me an extra 5 minutes or something over the follow up, where I did start realizing, yeah, these half of these news bulletins are the exact same as last time, and the questions are the same, and um, yeah, the first playthrough was great. I played three more times with other Kaiju, and again answering what I thought was the right answer, and it slowly got less and less interesting. and
Yeah.
then I played one time trying to answer as myself, and that went very poorly. Maybe the right kaiju for me is still out there, but I think I might uh, not be in the on the market any longer in the kaiju dating scene.
Oh.
I think 1 to 2 playthroughs is enough to really fully experience everything this game has to offer,
Yeah.
and repeated playthroughs are really just for the diehards. That the diehard kaiju fans.
I don't know, or the just the yeah, the passionate unlucky in love that's trying to win the right kaiju. That's you know, frankly, this is probably a good Valentine's Day game for. I'm sorry to say, any of you who are dateless on Valentine's Day, you could win some monster love through a
It
series of
is very cute,
questions.
and
Yeah,
if you don't mind, I think it's like $10. So like
yeah.
it felt like there were opportunities. Like at full price, I think it was $10, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there were opportunities to really add a little more dialogue variety into the game, question variety into the game. That would have been a fairly cost-effective way to improve it, but for $10, it feels like you get your value worth, even if you only play it a couple times. Um, any last final thoughts on Kaichu before we
I
rate
think
it?
it's gonna go into our final review a little bit.
Okay.
Now that you bring up a price thing, yeah,
Um, how do you want to go first, or shall I?
I'll let you go first. You brought up
So,
the cost. Yeah.
yeah, throughout the game, I think it was between 1 or 2 thumbs up because I really do think the art is spectacular. I think the story, again, the first playthrough really made me chuckle, and it was nice, and just it was a fun game. And so I was leaning to, but as it got repetitive and just the same old in the subsequent playthroughs with the other kaiju, it did get knocked down to 1 thumb up, just because uh, I did it. I wanted all. If you're going to put 6 relationships in, I feel like you should make all 6 equally fun, and reusing content didn't feel like the right decision to make somebody want to play all 6. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go with 1 out of 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time between one and actually no thumbs up.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was fun. Um, like I actually enjoyed going through it. Um, it yeah it just I didn't feel the need to really go through anymore. Like I got through 2 monsters and like one was not successful, one was successful, and it just kind of was like cool. I know what happens when it's successful. I'm good. Like so yeah, I think because of that it was fun, but yeah, it needed more. I think I would actually say no thumbs up, just to really differentiate through from other games that I have given 1 thumb up. I'm sorry to say I would give it no thumbs up, but I am actually sorry to say that. Yeah,
So 0 thumbs up for
zero
Chris.
thumbs up. Yeah.
And I feel like what we're kind of saying is this almost feels like an unfinished game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like unfinished like it's buggy or there's problems with it. It's unfinished that you had a good idea, but you didn't make it to the finish line with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you put out what you had, and that's fine. I enjoyed it for 30 minutes, um, but I just feel like there was so much opportunity for more. So, uh, Kaichu 2, the second dating sim for Kaiju,
Electric
does
Boogaloo.
that,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
Which
Does
should be
that
the name of the
interest
new
you at all?
monster. So this is yeah, this is
Uh-huh.
this is where it might get interesting. I think I would be. I think it's. I mean, I'm giving a little bit of a disclaimer with it. Is that, and I hate to give it a disclaimer, but I think it's with the thought of if there's a sequel, it's not going to be exactly the same. That
Uh-huh.
it probably would improve upon itself. It would expand a little bit more.
definitely.
I would actually play it. I would play
Okay.
the sequel. Yeah,
You want to come back for their second offering, see
I
what's
would.
new and
Yeah,
exciting, and what lessons they learned from their first
yeah.
game.
hmm
Um, Interesting. And are you paying full price, about $10, or are you going to wait for the sale at
Um,
$5 or so?
I think $10 is not bad. Again, it's with the thought that like there's something expanded. Even if there's like more, gosh, dare I say maybe something with it. I don't know if graphics alone would be it. Um, there's got to be more than just graphics and music expansion kind of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, if there's something a little bit more, I would pay $10. Yeah,
Okay, so you're a full
yeah,
price buyer, and here's where we're going to switch. I think I'm good. I think
okay.
Kaichu 2. Um, I think I have found that this game isn't quite for me. I had my fun. I gave it a thumbs up, and we'll let that one go. So we're gonna give that 1 out of 2 points since you're all in on the sequel, and I'm not so crazy about it. We'll let that one go by. But still they
Yeah,
land at 2 out of 6 points. Not a horrible score, not a great
no,
score, but it's fine. It's a fine game. You'll have a little bit of fun, just a little bit, and it will be interesting to see what they do
it
next.
would it would be one. I will add one more thing with
Uh-huh.
that. It actually would be a good mobile game. Like if it were
Mm,
an
definitely.
iOS or Android game, just to kind of pick up, like in between something while you're
Hmm.
waiting. Like, yeah, um, it'd be a fine game for that. It as a Nintendo like as a console game. I mean, yeah, Nintendo Switch is a console. As a console game, it's kind of lacking. Yeah, yeah.
Um, this is by Shins is the
Okay,
developer for this game. Very fun name,
hmm
very colorful company logo, and they do have a number of other titles out. I think they have about 6 titles they've released,
okay.
all different types, but all using that bright and colorful artwork. Um, I have not heard of literally any of these, unfortunately. Merrily Perily, TikTok Isle. Jabless Adventure, Jam Games, and Famicase Gallery. I do like their artwork a whole lot, and I will kind of look out for them to see if they do anything new and keep an eye out for what they
Yeah,
might be up to.
it really. I mean, like they did fairly well at it. It really. It's not a. They put effort in.
Oh, definitely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a bit needed with it. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
But they also price themselves fairly, so that's not bad. Up next, we're actually going to do a couple new things. We are going to have a some starting with just one, but probably, hopefully, growing to more. We're going to create a few mini episodes to scatter in between the month-long gaps between our main episodes, where we, do this. We talk about something and review a game. Um, but for our first mini episode, we're going to go exactly where you would probably assume we're going, and we're going to talk about Chrono Trigger. Specifically, we're going to recap the entire game of Chrono Trigger slowly and steadily. These are going to be shorter episodes, maybe 15 minutes is what we're shooting for. And we're going to recap the entire game of Chrono Trigger from memory. So it's been
hmm
a few years. I've played it many times, but it's been quite a few years. So they'll probably start out strong and then slowly get worse and worse and worse as memories begin to fail over through the course of the game. And then just to keep it interesting, we have agreed to when we realize we have forgotten some part of the game, we will try to make some kind of rule or adjustment to the story to reflect that. If we forget a character, then that character is no longer in the game, and we will have to uh, revise the game as we go to incorporate those lapses in memory. So that will be our Chrono Trigger recap pod coming up in a couple weeks. And then after that, for our main episode, we won't be talking about a game. We'll be talking about a theme park, specifically Super
hmm
Nintendo World. Chris has visited once or twice now.
Twice actually. Yeah,
Nice. So
yeah.
Chris has been to Super Nintendo World in Hollywood, California, and we'll be talking about that theme park. I have not been. I'll be kind of interviewing him about what the Nintendo of the real world is like, and the attractions and other activities. We'll probably try to put up some photos and videos and maybe
Mm-hmm.
links to other articles on our Twitter feed and possibly other social media. Maybe links some
We do
in
have a
the.
YouTube channel now, so we'll have some
Oh
videos and
yes,
stuff there. Yeah, yeah.
oh yes. I think there's already a couple Super
Hmm.
Nintendo World videos up on our YouTube channel. Are we Two Brothers Play a Game on YouTube? What's our YouTube handle?
We are. I think it's Two Brothers PAG for the like address bar. But you
Uh-huh.
can also just look up Two Brothers Play a Game. Hmm.
Brothers Play a Game or Two Brothers PAG on YouTube, and you can check those out. Get excited for that episode coming up next month for the month of March, and that's what our plan is. Then we'll be returning to video game discussion and reviews in the months to come, and possibly some more different types of mini pods in between. Please send us any questions to twobrothersplaygame@gmail.com. You can tweet at us, twobrothers PAG on Twitter, and excuse me, at twobrothers PAG. And you can also find us now, Two Brothers PAG on YouTube. And we'll probably be expanding out to even more locations in the future. So one final question for you, Chris. Now we've been talking about dating. We've been talking about trying to help people find romance through video games or romance within video games. If you were trying to tell a single friend of yours about mountains as a possible romantic partner, how would you describe them exactly?
Yeah. I mean, mountains are nice.
This is the life.